You cannot take back the things that you say. So if you know that you're the person who says things they don't mean in the heat of the moment when they're all angry, and then you have to come back and apologize about it later, maybe when you're angry, you should practice walking the fuck away. I'd rather keep it real with ya. Okay, so this is part 3 of me talking about this Brandi situation. I know, no, it's not even part 3, it's part 4, or however many parts when I get down to editing it, because it's a long story, unfortunately. But I wanted to talk about this. Sorry about the hair. I wanted to talk about something real quick that else came up. So you guys know, also, I'm not allowed to take antihistamines for like a week. So yes, I do look tired and sick because I am tired and sick. Or I'm sick and tired, and I'm tired and sick. I'm both of them. So I wanted to talk about this part because, like I said in the other video, it was really funny how Brandi was kind of like using me to get like free therapy through my therapist instead of working with her own therapist and talking to them. Even after she got therapist, it was still like, well, what does your therapist think? What did your therapist say about me? What does your therapist think about me? And stuff like that. And sometimes I would tell her, because I'm just like, hey, if we're really close, I can tell you whatever. I shouldn't have to like moderate myself or anything. And that's kind of how I felt in some ways. And then I didn't feel that in other ways. But one of the things I want to address, because she had asked, like, what does your therapist think of the situation? I spoke to the black therapist, which I already talked about how the black therapist felt. And then I spoke back to my regular therapist. And my regular therapist, the first time I was talking to her, like when I had first moved, it was like I didn't have internet, so we were talking on the phone. My therapist is very like expressive, like her face gives you a lot. Like she's like, it's face, it's eyebrows, it's body, it's everything when she's feeling something. And I'm not like that, apparently, because my eyebrows don't move. But yeah, and then when I look at her, I'm like, damn, your eyebrows moving a lot. is that is that real? Like that happens? But yeah, so I talked to her again, but this time we were on FaceTime so I could see her face. And I asked her, point blank. Like I kind of already knew, but I was like, so did you know the whole relationship that this was codependent? Like, and she looks at me and she's like, what do you think? And I was like, I think you're a fucking evil genius. That's what I think. I think you know everything and you don't be telling me shit. I was sitting up here like, yeah, my therapist will tell me if this is something I need to walk away from. Like, she'll tell me, right? And she was like, no, I won't. What I look like telling you what to do? That's not my job as a therapist to tell you what to do. People have told you what to do your whole life. So me telling you what to do is not going to help you because you weren't going to listen and you weren't ready to receive the information anyway. And I was like, damn, you're right. I was delusional. And it's like something I had to tell my other friends because they were all like, but I told you when the red flags was here like 6 months ago. And I'm like, I heard you, but I didn't hear you. And I say this to my therapist all the time. Like she'll get real serious and she'll like look me dead in my eye and she'll tell me something very carefully. And I'll be like, I hear you, but I don't hear you because I can understand a lot of things logically, but emotionally, I still won't understand them. And that's a problem that I am very well aware that I have. And so once I've decided someone is my friend and I've decided that I like them, you trying to tell me something about them that's problematic or not good or doesn't put them in the best light. You trying to tell me they have a red flag, a yellow flag, a orange flag. I don't fucking know. I'm like, no, that's not true. Not my friend. No, my friend's amazing. My friend's great. Like, what are you talking about? Because that's just how I was raised, that you act when you like somebody. You have to defend them from everybody. And so I was I would always get very defensive. I was very delusional and I wasn't ready to listen. And I recognized that. Watch my ass do it again. like watch this exact same situation happen again and my therapist have to walk me through it all over again. And I will have learned very little from my last experience. Because like I said in my other videos about why I can't have friends, I've had a bunch of friendships implode. And they usually implode because the people pleaser in me at some point tries to take a little bit back And people don't like that. Once they've gotten used to you in your people pleaser form, where you like everything they like, you agree with them on everything, you find no flaws in them, you think that they're great at everything. The second you try to pull a little back, they lose their shit. And I acknowledge that I am a people pleaser and I tend to do this. And those of you who've been in Discord and who've been following me, you've seen this happen. You've seen it happen real time. Because that's how I get. When I like somebody, I defend them to the ends of the earth. And it takes something real crazy for me to finally be like, okay, I'm done. I will say there's been some times when my therapist didn't have to tell me to walk away from a relationship, and I did anyway, which is good on me, because I check with my therapist. But so she was like telling me that, and I was like, you're absolutely right. I was delusional. I was not ready to hear any information. But then my therapist also was like, listen, if you're not in physical danger and she's not going to hurt you in any way, there's no reason for me to immediately jump to don't talk to her ever again and like tell you that. There's no reason for me to do it. Now, if your safety was at risk, I would have told you immediately. But you were not in physical danger, therefore I had to let you ride it out, and I respected that of her. So I was like, when did you know? Because that was an issue months ago with Brandi where I felt like I was upset, but I didn't say anything. And I just let things slide. Because I was like, this could have imploded earlier if the last time she made me upset, I said something, right? And so I asked her, like, when did you realize that this was like a toxic codependent relationship? She looks at me and she's like, oh my God. She knew the whole fucking time. And she's like, I pretty much knew from the moment you started talking about her that the relationship was going to implode. I don't know why I always have to have the implosions. Why does it always have to be an implosion? It can't just be a we don't fuck with each other no more silently. Like, I hate this. And I was like, so you knew a year ago that the relationship was gonna implode. And you just watched me? And she was like, well, I didn't know when it was gonna implode. Like, I don't know everything. It's not like I was watching you and being like, 4 months from now. I knew it was gonna implode at some point. I just didn't know when it would implode. And I was like, what was the red flags that I was missing? One of them, and I brought this up in the other videos, was the fact that Brandi kind of had two sides to her. She had this one side, which was the, mature, peacekeeping person, the I'm always going to be the bigger person, the, tell me what I did wrong, I will hold myself accountable, I will, be better, and all of those things. Like, that was one side of her. And then the other side of her was the side that we've already spoken about. The one where the second you make her upset in the slightest, she doesn't fuck with you no more. And she will pretend to fuck with you in order to make it through whatever she needs to make it through. But she will never like you again. Like, she will never go back, and she will never really fully address the issue properly. She would just be done with you in her head. But you wouldn't know, but she'd be done with you in her head. And I'd seen those two sides. But for me, I was like, oh, that side of her, she wouldn't give that to me. She gives that to people who deserve it. Because I would always hear from her perspective that, people was getting crazy with her, so she had to get crazy back. And so in my mind, I was believing her as she told me that. It was like, oh, she wouldn't do that with me because I'd never get crazy with her. And then the other side, the mature, bigger person, accountability side, she only gave to her mother. And that was it. There's nobody else. She was only the bigger person when it came to dealing with her mother and family drama. That was it. And I had mistakenly thought that I somehow would be in this group because of how much she loved me. She cared about me. She was just overjoyed about having me in her life, talking about how our relationship has been so healing, strengthening her faith in God, like all of that stuff. Like, I was just given, like, so flooded with so many of these positive emotions from her. I thought I would be in that camp. When there was an issue, I thought I was going to get, what do we got to do to fix it? Let's communicate, da-da-da-da. It's not, but I was over here. And I was like, yep, that makes sense. I was delusional. I get that part. But the other part that I have been looking over this whole time that my therapist had to point out to me was that Brandi told me who she was. Brandi told me, you know, and I'm not saying these are verbatim words, but it was basically like, oh, I love you so much because you're the only person who can put up with me. Like I don't have any other friends. It's just you, and you're the only person who can handle me as who I am, and all of that stuff. And I hear that from somebody and I immediately think about myself. I struggle with friendships. So when I get in a relationship with somebody, I'm thinking, oh, this is great. I'm having a positive relationship and I can be myself with this person and all of that stuff. Like that's how I'm thinking. And I was looking at Brandi like she was me. But what I was missing in that was at no point did I ever ask Brandi, why is it that you don't have any friends? Why is it that all your other friendships ended for whatever reason, or how they ended, or whatever? Why is it that I'm the only one that can put up with you? Put up in quotation marks. Why? What is it about this relationship that is different from the other relationships? And I never questioned that. And as my therapist pointed out, if I did question it, I would have heard that side a lot earlier, because as far as Brandi is concerned, she's never done anything wrong to anybody outside of, again, the mature accountability only to the mother and the family. Outside of that, friendships, work relationships, bosses, jobs, whatever, she's never done anything to anybody, and everybody's terrible and they just switch up on her randomly and they get crazy with her and she has to get crazy with them back and she has to stand up for herself and, show them who she is and like all that stuff. And she would have told me all of that if I had asked. But I never asked. I never asked, why did your old friendships end? Tell me about those. Now, I was very willing to tell her about my old friendships and how those ended. And what I did wrong and what they did wrong. There's some things that I've done wrong in the past that I don't fully regret because I feel like it was the right thing to do in a moment. But I acknowledge that the way I made that person feel was not okay. And I can talk about that very openly, very honestly. Every relationship I've had that's failed, even relationships I have that haven't failed, I can tell you about what it is that I did wrong in that situation. Now, does that mean that I'm responsible for every relationship ending? No, that's not what that means. But I am somebody who is very quick to blame myself for everything. So I have no problem holding myself accountable because I blame myself for everything. And Brandi, on the other hand, don't blame herself for nothing. It was always everybody else's fault. It was always, she wasn't even doing nothing. And then all of a sudden they just decided to get crazy with her out of nowhere. Like they just send her a message randomly and they're being weird or they're acting crazy. And she's like, bitch. And then she's like over them. And she doesn't like it. It rubs her the wrong way. She's done. And that type of behavior pattern was something that I should have paid attention to, that I should have caught up on, because that's exactly the way she treated me. And the way I came at her, if you would let her tell it, she probably would have read my messages completely differently, in a completely different tone. She would characterize the situation in a completely different way. She would characterize my behavior and my attitude in a completely different way. She would probably say something like, everything was cool, and then all of a sudden Minu decided that she wanted to fight with me for no reason, and she just suddenly sends me this message accusing me of doing all of these things, and I just couldn't deal with the way she was acting. She was just acting crazy. That's probably how she would describe the situation. That's not what happened. And that was what was very frustrating me, because I was like, it felt like I was having a conversation with a completely different person. And it felt like she was having a conversation with a completely different, like she was responding to someone who was not me. And I was trying to appeal to somebody who was not there. And it was just so weird and so shocking and so jarring for me. But the seeds were always there. Like the messaging was there. Like she told me who she was. She just never directly said, and this could be the autism thing, she never directly said, if you ever make me upset, I'm going to treat you like I treated that person. She never directly said that. Okay, it's time for the girls to eat. But she gave me hints, because I watched her wild out on people for very, very small, inconvenient reasons. Now, I've watched her wild out on people who I did genuinely feel deserve it, and were acting horribly or treating her horribly. Like, there's been times when I've seen it, or the person has done me the same way. So when she wilds out on them, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what needs to happen. But there's been times when she's called me because she's like pissed off at somebody over something that was tiny. And I'd be like, you sure it was that deep? Like, and then, you know what? Never mind. You know, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm on your side. I'm your friend. Like, you know, people pleaser mode. But it's like, I saw that stuff happen. And so the second that she responded to me in a negative way, like early on in the disagreement, I told my therapist, I'm concerned she's going to end the friendship because I've seen her do this before with several other people. And I'm worried that she's going to just like write me off. Like, even if we talk through it and we're like cool again, she's never going to think of me the same way. She's never going to see me the same way. She's never going to feel the same way about me. And I told my therapist I was worried that that was what was going to happen. But, you know, my therapist saw that I was still trying to make things work. So she worked with me on still trying to make things work and making sure that I'm doing everything right and I'm speaking the right way and I'm like not attacking or being defensive or being angry or anything like that. She worked with me through that. But she saw that I was starting to realize it a bit, but I just didn't want to accept it. And that's one thing, like I could say it out loud and I still don't like feel it in here. But then that's exactly what happened. And I didn't really have to do much of anything because Brandi probably either she spoke about it with people who I know don't like me, or she sat there and she went over it in her mind and got angry and angry and angrier. And then that's when she sent those messages. And then after talking with my therapist, she did call me, but I had already blocked her. And then she called me and I started getting these calls from these like private numbers. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And I finally answered one and it turned out it was her. And I hung up immediately because I was just like, no. And I was telling my boomer friend, who Brandi does not like. I was telling my boomer friend, and my boomer friend was like, yeah, I knew she was going to try to reconnect because she's going to sit with herself for a minute. She's going to read things through with a clear head and she was going to realize what was actually going on. And then she was going to want to start talking again. And I was like, ain't no reconnecting. There's no, once you like cut, like and she knows this and I'm very open about this. You cannot take back the things that you say. Let me say that again. You cannot take back the things that you say. So if you know that you're the person who says things they don't mean in the heat of the moment when they're all angry, and then you have to come back and apologize about it later, maybe when you're angry, you should practice walking the fuck away, not sending that text message, not calling, not engaging, and just walk away and say, I need a minute. Maybe I should practice doing that. Because one thing about me, as I've been on the receiving end of that type of behavior many, many times throughout my life, you can't come back and pretend that you didn't say what you said. I heard you and I can't unhear you. See, that's a problem that some certain toxic people that I've talked about on this channel have with me, is that I hold them to their word. I hear what you said and I'm not unhearing it. I saw what you did and I'm not unseeing it. So ain't no coming back and being like, oh, I was angry. Or, oh, I just felt this way. Like, there's no justification. I don't care. I don't care about the justification for the way you acted. Because now I feel like anytime you get upset, you gonna treat me that way. And I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm gonna be treated that way every time you get fucking upset at something that I said or did, or even a perceived slight of mine. No. And the reason that I kept putting so much control over myself and what I was saying was because I did not want to say something out of anger. Because I know it can't be taken back. And it doesn't matter if it's in a text, an email, a phone call, whatever. Once you say it, it can't be taken back. And a lot of times, again, and even if you apologize, no one owes you an acceptance of your apology. No one owes you forgiveness because you apologized. So when you say stuff that you have to apologize for, you have to accept the fact that they may not forgive you for what you said. And some people don't get that. Some people feel like they can just give a reason for why they behaved a certain way, and then they will be forgiven because they gave the reason, right? No. It may work like that with some people. It don't work like that with Minu. Yeah, the last point I was going to make, and I know she follows the channel, so she's probably watching it. The last point I was going to make is, people pleaser Minu here. Once I get to the point where I am no longer filtering myself with you and I'm telling you exactly how I feel about what you're doing and I'm not focusing on myself, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Because I will blame myself for everything. And Brandi, I don't know if she did it consciously or not. I'm not going to say that she was some kind of evil mastermind. But she pushed on that because everything that she said was, you're doing this, you're acting this way, you need to act like this, and you need to do this, because this is what you're doing, and you're the one that's fucking everything up right now. She pushed on all of that because I'm so quick to blame myself about everything that goes wrong. When people treat me bad, I blame myself. And she pushed on that. I could have been the person who would have responded like, no, you this. I didn't do that. But for my responses to be like, this is how I feel, and my feelings are valid, and the way you acted is not acceptable in any way, and you had no right to treat me that way, and I am done. That's it. And I've had it. There's been times when I've ended friendships where I didn't have to say anything to the person and we just didn't talk no more. And there's been times when I wrote fucking letters. Like, I've done that before to let people know how I really feel, because I struggle with certain emotionally manipulative people. When you try to talk to them in person, they'll cry on you in a second. And it's hard to be firm with someone who's crying. So I've done that before. But once I've said my piece, I'm done. There's nothing more for me to say. There's no discussion that needs to be had. There's no trying to convince me of anything. I don't want to run the gamut with you no more. There's nothing that you can say that can take back the way you spoke to me and the way you treated me in this moment. Now, see, in the beginning, there was, hey, you did this inadvertently. I know. It made me feel this way. Let's talk about it. We could have talked about that because you were not intentionally trying to hurt me in any way. When someone unintentionally hurts me, I want to talk about it. Well, I don't want to talk about it. I should want to talk about it. In a healthy relationship, I want to talk about it. When you get to the point where you are saying all these things that you know hurt me, what we doing? I cannot be in a relationship with somebody who's like, hey, I know that you're really insecure about this thing, so every time you get upset, or every time I get upset with you, I'm going to pull that out. I had a friendship like that I do need to make a video about, but that friendship lasted years, so that's going to be a long-ass series. But I had a friend like that who knew the things that upset me, knew the things that made me insecure, knew the people in my life that had hurt me. And then whenever they would get annoyed with me or upset with me, they would bring up the people who had hurt me, that they watched hurt me. And then they would basically say something on the lines of like, I agree with that person because they were right about you in this situation and you didn't have a reason to even be upset because they were in the right. And I'm like, that person tried to destroy me? What the fuck? But people have done that to me. And it's very jarring. But yeah. I'm done. There's nothing left to say. I've said the only thing I could say at this point right now is just mean things. And I don't want to be that person who says mean things. So I'm just going to say nothing. I've already expressed my feelings. I've clarified the situation 15 times, and that's it. There's nothing more that needs to be said. And there was this thing that Brandi was helping me with, but it's not worth it to try and maintain. Now, my mother would say, if you can use someone, it doesn't matter if you like them or not, but I'm not like that. So whatever I had going on and whatever I needed her help with, it wasn't worth it to sit in a relationship that hurt me. Now, I would say too, the universe probably never planned on me having that happen in the first place, because Brandi should have did that shit months ago, helping me, and I just kept, letting it slide, never bringing. I brought up 2 times, oh, could you help me with this? She's like, absolutely, and she never did it. So I guess the universe didn't want that to happen anyway. So just gotta figure out how to do shit on my own again. And again, most of the stuff I do is on my own anyway. But sometimes it's nice. Hello, Sadie. Sometimes it's nice to have a friend help you with some stuff. And I kind of had that for a minute, but now I don't. Anyway, that's all I want to say. That's it. I'm done talking about it. As long as, I mean, unless something else comes up, unless I get a random email or some shit, I don't know. But I'm done talking about it. I don't want to talk about it no more. I've probably spoken like 2-3 hours on this already that I have to cut down for a video series, and I'm done talking about it. I don't want to talk about it no more. I'm tired. I want to move on to other things. Thank you, Sadie. I want to move on to other things in my life. So as I always say, you know, take care of yourself because you deserve it. Drink your water, eat your food, take your naps. Sadie, she's just so distracting. Take your naps, love your pets if you have pets, and, you know, don't let people take advantage of you. Don't let people take advantage of your known weaknesses. You know, it's kind of how I feel right now. But yeah, keeping in the same vein of like the move video, it's really, really important to speak up for yourself. And sometimes it goes well and sometimes it goes bad. And in the times it goes bad, it's not because you were bad. It's not because you spoke up wrong. A lot of times if you speak up for yourself and it goes bad, it has to do with the fact that the person you're talking to is not someone who's receptive to receptive to caring about other people's feelings and hearing other people's perspectives. And they're bad with conflict and they're bad with accountability. So try as much as you can to speak up for yourself in all situations, because objectively it's the right thing to do for you. Doesn't matter what it is for other people. It's the right thing to do for you. And that's what's most important in your life. Join the Discord, chat with us in Discord. Again, we're watching videos, we're sharing memes, we're talking about what's going on in our lives. Support me on Coffee because I don't really make nothing from YouTube. Most of my videos are demonetized. Or they're demonetized until the point where I'm no longer getting views on a video, and then they're suddenly monetized again. Follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to be better about posting on there pictures of the cats, pictures of food, and subscribe to the channel. I've been forgetting to say that. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.